Afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The Mintokwe Habukare is my name. Sequel to the results of Osun State governorship election, the state governor, Mr. Adegboyega Oyetola, has taken cognizance of the results of the election as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The governor, however, noted that the party would be responding appropriately after studying the results and consulting with critical stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress. In a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Ismail Omipidon, Governor Oyetola called on his supporters to remain calm and the people of the state to go about their businesses without violence or hindrance. He also called on security operatives to ensure maintenance of law and order. The Nigerian Labour Congress has said that it would embark on a nationwide protest on the 26th and 27th of this month in solidarity with the trade unions and the Nigerian public universities and others. The NLC president, Mr. Ayuba Waba, said this in a circular jointly signed by Mr. Emmanuel Ugwaja, General Secretary of the Congress in Abuja. According to Mr. Waba, the action is in line with the decisions of the National Executive Council meeting of the Nigerian Labour Congress held last month. Also, in a separate statement, Mr. Waba faulted the federal government's purported rejection of the NIMI BRICS Committee report of the university-based unions negotiations. The Academic Staff Union of Universities and other trade unions in the education sector have been on strike for over 5 months over alleged failure of government to keep to agreements entered with the unions. The demands of the striking workers include issues bordering on funding of universities, salaries, and end allowances of lecturers. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Universities is planning to suspend its over 5-month strike conditionally tomorrow in response to the appeals by various stakeholders and President Muhammadu Buhari. It was learned that the striking lecturers might suspend their action while negotiation continues on key aspects of the union's demand. On conclusion of renegotiation of 2009 agreement with the Federal Government Committee, chaired by Emeritus Professor Nimi Briggs, President of ASU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, gave hope that the strike would be called off immediately the agreement is signed by the government. In the face of economic and financial challenges, members of the rate-fixing arm of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Monetary Policy Committee, will face tough choices in the next 2 days as the sustained inflationary pressure remains a major challenge for the Apex Bank. It will be the second interest rate hike in 2 months if the most likely choice scales the voting order as the committee begins its 286th meeting. The committee is boxed in between expressing its independence or jumping on the bandwagon of hawks who are throwing everything into the ring to tame surging inflation. The stakes are indeed high. Growth is flattening or falling, heightening fears of the worst stagflation in recent years. Reports say the rising inflation poses a significant challenge to the CBN in particular, which had hoped to contain the index within the 6% to 9% band. The MPC, while citing inflationary concerns during its last meeting in May, had resolved to raise the monetary policy rate by 150 basis points to 13% in response to the global inflationary pressures. And now to sports. Super Falcons head coach Randy Waldron is anticipating a tough battle against host Morocco in today's semi-final clash as the 2022 African Women's Cup of Nations. The last 4 ties will hold at the Moulay Abdallah Sports Complex in Rabat. The Atlas Lioness are unbeaten in the competition and will look to surprise the defending champions who have won the title 9 times, that is the Super Falcons. Waldron reckoned the Super Falcons must be at their best to beat Renard Pedro's side. He added that's the first time he saw the team in September he was very impressed by their quality and by the football they played. The Falcons coach said it is a big challenge for the Nigerian team, and with its experience and being favorites to many, it is ready for the game. On the foreign scene, India's parliament began voting today for a new president, with a female politician from the country's marginalized tribal community the favorites for the post. Draupadi Murmu from the Sansa tribe has been nominated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party for the largely ceremonial position. If elected, she would be India's first tribal president and second female president. The incumbent, Brahmnas Kovind, is the country's second president from the Dalit community, the bottom of the Hindu caste system. It was gathered that Murmu, aged 64, began her career as a school teacher in the eastern state of Odisha before going into politics, as she has held ministerial positions in the state government and been governor of the neighboring state of Jharkhand. Her main opponent for the presidency is veteran politician Yashwant Sinha, an ex-BJP member and former finance and external affairs minister who has been backed by opposition parties including Congress. Reports say India's president is chosen by nearly 5,000 elected members of both houses of parliament and regional legislatures across the country. Each of their votes is weighted according to the size of their constituency, and they rank the candidates in order of preference. Still on the foreign scene, President Volodymyr Zelensky has suspended the head of Ukraine's spy agency and the prosecutor general, citing many cases of treason in the two powerful organizations. Zelensky said more than 60 former employees were now working against Ukraine in Russian-occupied areas. Information has it that a total of 651 collaboration and treason cases had been opened against law enforcement officials. The officials, Ivan Bakanov and Irina Venediktova, have not commented on the issue. In a video address, Mr. Zelensky said such an array of crimes against the foundations of the national security of the state pose very serious questions to the relevant heads of the two organizations. Andrei Smirnov, one of Mr. Zelensky's top advisors, clarified that the officials have not been fired, as initially suggested, but merely removed pending an investigation. The removal of SBU chief Ivan Bakanov, a childhood friend of Mr. Zelensky, follows the high-profile arrest of a former SBU regional head in Crimea, annexed by Russia in 2014, Ole Kulich, who is suspected of treason. Senior intelligence officials based in Kherson have also been charged, and Mr. Zelensky suggested that further action would be taken against other SBU officers. It has long been assumed Ukraine had a problem with Russian infiltration of its security services, and in his speech, Mr. Zelensky sought to lay out the impact of repeated security breaches. And that ends the midday news on OSBC television. We thank you for watching. It was edited by Kayode Adebayo. Join us at 3 for State News. Good afternoon.